The last thing we have today is we get to watch some of Bill Maher's program with Russell Brand on it. And I'm not going to show I don't think this is the point where Bernie's on it, but there's a few clips. I just wanted to show you one, and I want to talk about the false equivalency of certain people like Brand and some nominally on the left that believe in the same concepts. So here's Russell Brand talking to an MSNBC contributor on Bill Maher's program.
It's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace, and also, mate, like just spiritually, if I may use that word in your great country, we have to take responsibility for our own perspectives. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Morning Joe.
Remember that Morning Joe's Joe Scarborough, who is a former Republican.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism. No one was willing to stick up for genuine American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about Julian Assange and what he's suffered trying to bring real journalism to the American people. And I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous.
My friend,
Make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great again.
My friend, the moment.
Why is them on a territory you can win on, Joe?
Russell, darling, the moment that you give me a specific example, an actual example.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Just wait. It's not about bias. It's a false equivalency because you don't actually know anything about any of these organizations you're talking about. Even on MSNBC once. Big fucking deal.
My darling, it was more than enough.
You can't come up with
such a
you don't have a single actual fact.
Do you want an example? Do you want an example?
Yes.
The ludicrous, outrageous criticisms of Joe.
Whoa, here it comes. Here comes the... So I'm going to pause this right here. I want to say there are legitimate critiques of Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, even with their slants, their corporate biases, as we've talked about on the show. They have biases towards large corporations. They have biases towards their sponsors, etc. Now, Russell Brand is trying to point out all these hypocrisies. He is about to dive in and show his hand as to why he feels this way. And the issue that he is going to raise is COVID. And Russell Brand, who hosts his show on Rumble, which is funded and fueled by Peter Thiel, who is the, if I'm generous, libertarian, if I'm not generous, the far-right billionaire that pushes all this nonsense, that pushes the propaganda and the rhetoric that leads to misinformation, that leads to chaos, that leads to those in power to grabbing more and more power. So, is there a critique of MSNBC? Yes. But is it equivalent to what Fox News is doing? Absolutely not. And we will return to that in a second, but this is the example that he is giving.
Rogan around ivermectin, deliberately.
Ivermectin that has no positive effects with regards to COVID.
Referring to it as a horse medicine when they know it's an effective medicine.
Remember, there are forms of ivermectin for humans. It doesn't treat COVID. But the reason why people called it horse medicine is because there, one, is versions for horses, and two, people were buying the horse version of it, utilizing way too much of it because it was for a horse, and believing that there was this effect when there wasn't.
Rachel Maddow turning up on the TV saying if you take this vaccine, you're not going to get it when it hadn't been clinically trialed for transmission. You have to listen.
There was, again, a very, very small time period and a very, very few days and clips of people saying what he just said. Rachel Maddow saying that you won't get it. Absolutely not. Which, by the way, not to toot my own horn here, but I've gotten 3 shots and I've never had COVID. So, just saying. Now there might be other reasons for that, but the vaccine, as they refined it, and as the more and more studies came out, showed that it is safe, it is effective in keeping people, 1, out of the hospital, 2, from being very sick, and 3, most importantly, from dying. It may not prevent people from getting COVID, but it ridiculously reduces the risk associated with getting COVID. And for that matter, the reason why people also jump on people like Joe Rogan, like Russell Brand, because remember now, also I'll point out that Russell Brand after this went on Steven Crowder's program, went on other far-right people's shows. I'm drawing a blank on who exactly it was, but I remember there was at least one. It wasn't PragerU, but it was in that vein. These are right-wing talking points, talking about myocarditis, which, if you don't know, is much more associated with COVID than it is the vaccine. So that is a ridiculous claim, as he's going to continue to make. And I don't know, I'm responding to chat here. I don't know that it's a white rich boy privilege, because 1, I'm not rich, but 2, I don't know that it's a privilege. I just did my duty. I did my duty to my country, and I got my shots, okay? Protecting me and the community at large.
Do you think you can improve America by determinedly and avowedly condemning Fox News without acknowledging that you're participating in the same game? Did you not just listen to Bernie Sanders, someone who plainly, legitimately believes in this country and believes it's possible to change, but is bound by corruption, is bound by the lobbying system?
So that is the end of that clip. But let me just say this. Let me just say this, okay? Bernie Sanders, if you asked him, would never equate the Fox News and MSNBC outlets. Not even close. Bernie Sanders knows the difference. He engages with people on Fox News and he engages with people that he disagrees with, but he knows the difference. The same thing with folks want to talk about Noam Chomsky and drawing a false equivalency. Because if you actually look at what Noam Chomsky said, he said, and I quote, that the Republican Party is the most dangerous party in the world to human life. That is not me. That is Noam Chomsky. So this equivalency, and Bill Maher pisses the ever-living crap out of me. But if that phrase even makes sense. But people that go around saying that they're progressive, pushing all this stuff, and again, Russell Brand is somebody that, in theory, likes Bernie Sanders. If you cannot see that there is a difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, then you should not be engaging in politics. If you cannot recognize that there is a better vehicle to a progressive outlook in this country, then you should not be engaging in progressive politics. You might as well just be talking about the other stuff in the world. You know, talk about movies and talk about video games, because politics is about engaging with practicality, and it's engaging with idealistic viewpoints of the world that can be implemented in some fashion, some way, someday, somehow, through hard work, determination, effort. But that's not what people like that are pushing, because ultimately, if you believe that both parties are the same, that leads to nihilism, it leads to cynicism, it leads to the false equivalency, because again, the Democrats are not the same as the Republicans. MSNBC is not MSNBC. Again, I don't watch it. I am not a supporter of it. MSNBC and CNN, for that matter, do not push false, fake, made up stuff the way that Fox, Newsmax, OAN, Alex Jones, all of them do. So in the end, that is the ultimate difference right there.